The second stop of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season rolls through the Richmond Raceway here tonight. The passion for modified racing has never been stronger in the Commonwealth of Virginia as the ground pounders invade America's premier short track. Tonight, it's the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. Hello everyone, I'm Joe Koss here for the call of tonight's NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour action on a picture-perfect night here at the Richmond Raceway, the three-quarter-mile D-shaped oval. 58 degrees, the sun is shining, the race cars are powered up as the ground pounders get ready to go for 150 laps here today. It has been an outstanding day so far here in Richmond. A lot of things has happened throughout the afternoon. Earlier today, it was the number 22 machine of Kyle Bonsignore who was quickest in practice, but in fact his cousin, Justin Bonsignore, in the 51 earned his 20th career NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour pole and will bring the field around to the green flag. Justin trying to rebound after the challenges that team had at the new Smyrna Speedway in their title defense here this season, trying to start things off strong with that pole run just about an hour or so ago. What are some of the other storylines that we're keeping an eye on throughout the day today? Well, Eric Goodale, he came in second after a strong run at New Smyrna, a team that's very optimistic about their chances in the race here tonight. He's going to have his hands full, though. He'll start back in the 12th position in car number 58. We've also got Donnie Leah back in the field for the first time since 2017. A pair of champions are back. Not only Donnie Leah, he won 2 championships driving for the famed Bob Garbarino. The other driver that won a championship driving for Bob Garbarino was Bobby Santos. Those two drivers will start on row number 4 tonight. They will be back in the field and will be drivers to watch as the race goes on. And how about this? Making his return to NASCAR competition, Ryan Newman is back in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Many folks excited to see this take place. He will start in the 5th position here tonight. He's going to be driving, the 4th position here tonight. He'll be driving the number 39 in a car owned by Hermie Sadler and Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. So a lot of storylines still left to play out here today as the field begins to roll. Off the pit lane for tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150 at the Richmond Raceway. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150 at the Richmond Raceway, the second stop of the season for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Justin Bonsignore earned his 20th career pole position. He'll start alongside Tyler Ripkema, who will be making his best career start here this evening on the front row. Ryan Newman returns to NASCAR competition in the number 39. He'll start 4th here tonight. And a pair of champions make up row number 4. Bobby Santos III and Donnie Leah are back in competition. Making his 3rd career start, rolling off 11th tonight, will be Eddie McCarthy from Brick, New Jersey, lining up alongside the second man in the championship points, Eric Goodale from Riverhead, New York, in car 58. Austin Beers, the young 19-year-old driver, had a crash in practice. They repaired the car, got it back to be 13th in qualifying, while Chuck Hosfeld, the hot shoe from Ransomville, New York, is back on the circuit. He'll start 14th tonight. Former series champion back in 2011, Ronnie Silk out of Norwalk, Connecticut, will roll off 16th. A few other cars to keep an eye on deeper in the field. Patrick Emmerling in the 07 will roll off 23rd. He'll have to go to the back of the field after an unapproved adjustment after qualifying. They had a suspension component break in the back of their modified. Field rolling on the first of just a handful of pace laps here at this racetrack. Field of 27 modified strong. Getting ready to go racing. As they roll through turns 1 and 2, 14 degrees of banking here at this racetrack. You go back and you look at what happened at the first race of the year. It was not a good day for Justin Bonsignore. They finished at the back of the pack, earning a DNF to start the season as he begins pursuit of his 4th championship. But today, he won the pole. He'll start first, his 20th career pole for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Rejoining the competition here in modified racing, a 4-time modified winner and a former winner in the NASCAR Cup Series here at the Richmond Raceway, Ryan Newman in the number 39, a brand new race team, a brand new race car. They just tested this car on Tuesday, only put about 40 laps on it, the Caraway Speedway, getting ready for this race weekend. Just added his name to the entry list here yesterday, but Ryan Newman makes his return to NASCAR competition behind the wheel of a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour car. Row number 4 tonight, featuring those two champions that we told you earlier. Old Blue, number 3, Donnie Leah, will run a part-time schedule this year on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, driving one of the most famous modifieds in the history of modified racing, the Old Blue, number 3. He'll line up alongside Bobby Santos, teamed back up again with the Tinio Racing family in the 44 out of Franklin, Massachusetts. He won the championship back in 2010. Both of those drivers won 3 consecutive championships together, driving for the same car owner back in the late 2000s, 2007, 8, and 9 between those drivers. So an outstanding lineup here to have back in the field tonight at Richmond. Full field of cars, lots of storylines still to play out. The pit road scenario today, we'll see 3 pit stops most likely. They'll have to pit once for fuel somewhere after lap 40. And the teams have 2 sets of change tires, 6 total. Typically in modified racing, you take 3 tires each. The left front tire will go the whole 150 lap distance here tonight, so we expect to see 2 rounds of live tire change stops here tonight. Live pit stops for the crews that are on the pit wall. And we're just 2 laps away from seeing the green flag here today. Well, a couple of things to look for. Tire management is going to be key on a very fast racetrack. This is the 2nd largest track that the modified series will race on throughout the season, the other being up at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in Loudon, New Hampshire. But this racetrack carries a tremendous amount of speed. Teams have to find that balance of being good getting into turn number 1, the arcing, sweeping turn 1, and a tight exit off turn number 2, versus getting into turn number 3, and the crews have worked on that, trying to find the balance throughout the practice session that they heard earlier this afternoon. Again, Kyle Bonsignor was the quickest of the cars in practice today, and he will roll off from the 5th position when we get the green flag here in just a moment or two. Field will come off turn number 4, looking for the 1 to go signal and be ready to go racing. Up in the flag stand tonight, Josh Fowler is our honorary starter. He'll wave the green flag for tonight. Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. Let's take a look at the race analysis for tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. The track length here in Richmond, 3/4 of a mile. Banking in turns is 14 degrees. Straightaways has 8 degrees of banking. Laps tonight, 150 for 112.5 miles. You're going to be up on the wheel all evening long. The race will transition from a beautiful evening to under the lights here, and you wouldn't have anything better for the ground pounders of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour here at the Richmond Raceway for only the 12th time in the history of the series. About ready to be unleashed here tonight as they roll down the back straightaway. The Whelen Engineering lights are out atop that Toyota Camry pace car as we get set to go, leaving the field in command of 3-time Whelen Modified Tour champion Justin Bonsignor in the 51 at the bottom. Tyler Ripkema has proven to be a contender in this series. He will start on the front row, his career best start in the number 32, in a brand new race car to the outside lane. Pace car is in, and the green flag is waving. We are underway with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour in Richmond. Off turn 2, Justin Bonsignor. Out to the early lead, Max McLaughlin in the 77 will run second. Here's Ryan Newman in the 39, Yellow Machine, trying to make his way up forward. He's got Bobby Santos right behind. Side by side for third now, here's Kyle Bonsignor. He's the cousin of the race leader Justin Bonsignor out in front. Put a wheel to the inside of Tyler Ripkema, but fell back in line as here comes Newman to challenge to the inside lane of the racetrack. Bonsignor out in front. The pressure is on for this team to rebound from earlier. Here's the 44 of Santos on the inside lane, and he is going backwards on the bottom. Here's John McKennedy working up at the outside groove. And the 79 machine. Donnie Leah working up top at the 3. You got to go back to 2017, the last time that Donnie Leah drove a modified in competition, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Back up front, Nerf bar to Nerf bar, the 22 of Kyle Bonsignor. sneaks underneath. Tyler Ripkema takes over third. And here's Tommy Catalano in that 54. Working to the inside of Ryan Newman now. Trying to move inside the top 5. Catalano out of shape off turn number 2. We saw in qualifying earlier today that many of the teams got loose up off turn number 4. In fact, one of the cars actually spun around. It was Kyle Ebersol. He had mechanical problems. He had to start to the back of the field as well. Everybody knows the tale except for Max McLaughlin. Takes that 77 down to the bottom in a bid for the race lead. Bonsignor around the top, able to keep momentum rolling, holds onto it for now. Kyle Bonsignor now steps to the outside line, trying to follow his cousin up to the front, as McLaughlin lost ground on the bottom. Ripkema joins the battle, and Tommy Catalano goes to the outside around Ryan Newman, goes to the outside around Tyler Ripkema, and he's got that number 54 rolling fast up top. Great action to see in the early stages of this one. Modified racing at its best. Bonsignor leads the way, but he's got a mirror full of side-by-side action, wheel to wheel. You have 15 inches of rubber on every corner of these NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour cars, and they are using every bit of it here in the early going. Nobody's holding anything back. Catalano continues to make that outside lane work, and Ryan Newman says, I'm going to try to follow him right on through. He goes to the outside of Max McLaughlin in the 77. Max has got a busy weekend ahead of him. Tomorrow's going to be racing up in Middletown, New York on dirt as he pursues a dirt modified championship, but was able to find time to run with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour here today in Richmond. And Gary Putnam's modified. Down to the bottom, Kyle Bonsignor makes a bid for the lead in turn 1, and he takes over the top spot. We're already starting to see a little bit of what we had a year ago, a lot of action up front. We raced here in September in very warm conditions. We saw 14 lead changes into the first 12 laps of this one. We are starting already to see the top spot swap. Now Kyle Bonsignor out in front. Catalano able to sneak on through to get second away from Justin Bonsignor. And Catalano putting the pressure up in that upper groove to the high lane over Bonsignor. Caution is out in turn number 2, and there's the reason. Right rear tire is the problem for the number 97 of Brian Doza. So the first caution out of the day here in Richmond. Doza will bring that number 97 down to the attention of his crew. Has peeled that Hoosier tire off the right rear. See if we can get that returned. Everybody's still on the lead lap, so no free pass will be awarded here as Doza brings that number 97 down to the attention of his crew, with Kyle Bonsignor out in front. Well, a different look to the front two drivers here in the early stages. It's a Bonsignor, but it is not Justin Bonsignor. Kyle Bonsignor did a nice job at working his way up through the pack early on from his 5th place starting position. And he leads the of Stafford Speedway winners in one of the most historic races in modified racing, the fall final back in 2018. Pit road is open at the moment. Among the top 10 or so, no takers so far. We'll see if anybody a little bit deeper in the pack elects to come down and get adjustments to their cars. A couple of cars coming in. Andrew Kraus, one of them, from Homedale, New Jersey, brings that number 24 down to the attention of the crew. Andrew's family runs the Wall Stadium, Wall, New Jersey, a track that will host the Whelen Modified Tour on July 9th, a Saturday night. Kraus is in. They'll put fuel in that race car, make some changes. Here's Jeremy Gershner. They're working inside the driver's compartment along the right side. That's also where the ignition is mounted on these NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour cars. So making some adjustments there. You can see the chassis adjustments being made to the 34 for J.B. Fortin. Another rich racing family out of the Northeast. And the 71 of James Pritchard Jr. on pit road as he makes his Whelen Modified Tour debut. There's Patrick Emmerling. Now, Emmerling and this team had a problem at this race a year ago with the rear suspension. After qualifying, he had a very slow lap. The team pulled the car out of the qualifying inspection with the approval of the NASCAR officials, were able to get that suspension problem resolved. And with that, he had to start at the back of the pack. So Emmerling comes in, looks like they made a shock adjustment, and they'll send him back out onto the track. Sean Houlihan and Bob Slade, the flagmen, atop the flag stand here tonight in Richmond. You get a look at exactly what happened. This was up off turn number 2. You see that right rear tire goes down for Brian Doza, and he goes spinning. No contact. He was able to get that tire repaired. One more look. You'll see it come out of the left side of your frame. Doza already around and was able to keep it off the safer barrier to the outside of turn number 2. So the field has been given a 1-to-go signal, and they are doubled up along the back straightaway. Kyle Bonsignor, the race leader, takes the inside lane for the restart. No choose rule here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. But Tommy Catalano, though, I'll tell you what, that outside lane was working really good for him. And we'll see if he can take advantage of that here on this start. Pace car is in, ready to get back underway. Lap 17 when they get the green flag. Catalano does not come up to speed, and that allows Justin Bonsignor to get by for second. Now here's Ryan Newman to challenge for third to the inside. So it's Kyle Bonsignor, Justin Bonsignor in turn 3. Now Newman working the inside lane, but Max McLaughlin in the 77 goes up top. Diving to the bottom of turn number 1, Justin Bonsignor drives deep to the inside lane to take over the top spot. Newman comes right on through. And here's McLaughlin trying to get more to the bottom of turn 3. Showtime, Jimmy Blewett in the 7 New York, battling with John McKennedy a little bit deeper in the field. Great action throughout the field. There's Austin Beers in that 64. That car crashed in practice. The team worked diligently to get it repaired and back out onto the racetrack. And that number 64 machine running right now where he started in 13th. Great action throughout the field. This is what NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour action is all about. You've got Beers in there, a couple of champions, and Bobby Santos in the black 44. Here is Showtime, Jimmy Blewett now working down to the inside of that 7 New York. Blewett looking to rebound after his run at New Smyrna was not as successful as they had hoped. But Tommy Baldwin's car looking good here tonight in Richmond in the first 21 laps. Back up front, Justin Bonsignor and Ryan Newman. So Ryan Newman added his name to the entry list here yesterday for this S&S Racing team, car that is owned by Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley and NASCAR driver and analyst Hermie Sadler. Got the opportunity to put this brand new car together and test it on Tuesday at the Caraway Speedway. Put about 40 laps on it and then brought it to Richmond. And right now runs second, back in the pack. Santos in the 44, working underneath the 79 of John McKennedy, Donnie Leah. Right there in the 3, the Bowler Racing Modified. Santos down low. Nearly come together at the start-finish line. And then back into that 14-degree bankings of turn 1 and 2. Leah goes up the racetrack, 2 grooves over there in turns 3 and 4. Chuck Hosfeld went down to the inside of the 2. Leah able to gather it back in, and now starts to track down McKennedy. In the 79, McKennedy is going to have a busy race weekend. After tonight's race, he'll pack up, drive back up north to his shop in Massachusetts, and then that team will swap race cars and get ready to run the Icebreaker on Sunday afternoon at Thompson Speedway. Nearly 3 wide, getting it at turn 1. To the bottom goes Chuck Hosfeld. Check in with the leaders, and Justin Bonsignor out in front. Tommy Catalano around the outside of Ryan Newman to move into second. Justin Bonsignor leads in Richmond. Tommy Catalano in second. Ryan Newman, Max McLaughlin, your top 4. Deeper in the pack, we've been watching the battle among some of the former champions of this series. Donnie Leah in the 3. Here's Spencer Davis running with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour this season, the 29, and John McKennedy in the 79 machine. Here's Eric Goodale in the 58. Goodale was very optimistic about his chances here tonight. And another driver that appears to be optimistic is F54 of Catalano. One of the best runs we have seen out of Tommy Catalano in his Whelen Modified Tour career here in the first 29 laps. He has been able to make that second groove work better than anybody in the early stages. And he's putting the heat on a 3-time champion in Justin Bonsignor. Looks outside, loses a little bit of ground, had a handful of steering wheel, all elbows up off turn number 2. That time for Catalano in the 54. Car stepped out sideways on him, but he's able to rope it back in. Catalano celebrated his birthday earlier in the month of March, and his mom went out and he got him 2 die-cast cars, one for him, one for his brother, that were identical to the modified cars that they race on the weekends. The Catalano family, a big racing family. Up in the New York area, just about every single member of their family has raced in modified competition in one form or another, and it is in their blood. This winter they went and raced at the indoor circuit, tried something new, had a great time doing that, but their focus this season is in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competition, and they have come out guns blazing here tonight. Catalano continues to be on the attack, but off turn number 2, he cannot keep the pedal down, loses some ground again as we go deeper in the pack and pick up the battle here. This is Ronnie Silk in the 16 and Spencer Davis. There's Kyle Ebersole in the 5. Patrick Emmerling documented the problems that he had with the suspension in the back of that modified after qualifying today. And he's trying to make up for lost ground. He's back in the 21st position at the moment. Whoa! Dowza, way out of shape up off turn number 2, able to gather it back into the back straightaway. So a tough start for Brian Doza. First, a right rear tire that had gone down, and now he's able to gather it back in and continue on. 36 laps complete here tonight, and the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. The story at the front, Justin Bonsignor, Tommy Catalano, and tell you what, Catalano couldn't make the outside lane work. He said, maybe I'll try the bottom and see if I can get that going through turns 1 and 2. Max McLaughlin will try the same to the bottom. As he pursues Ryan Newman in that 39. Lots of racing still left to go. And Newman feathering the steering wheel up off turn number 4 in that yellow 39 will be the ones that'll be successful in the long going. We've seen this early on today, 30 laps in, 38 laps in. We tend to see long runs at the start of these races here on the Whelen Modified Tour, but at the end of the day, short runs become king. And that pattern starting to play out again here in the first third of this event as Newman starts to close in on Catalano in the 54. This is the battle for the second spot. 2 wide, how about 3 wide, nearly as they came across the line. Newman darts to the inside lane, puts the 39 into second. McLaughlin down to the bottom. McLaughlin does not have all that many NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour starts, but when he has run, he has been spectacular. He's been fun to watch. Gary Putnam. His modified, Gary Putnam from Vernon, Connecticut, who won the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 with Jamie McMurray in the same season as a car chief, the NASCAR Cup Series level. And Catalano's car starting to fade. From second to fourth and possibly to fifth, here comes Tyler Ripkema down to the bottom. And the battle for the 4th spot. Gary McDonald goes a lap down as Justin Bonsignore flashes by the start-finish line one more time to put 43 laps up on the scoreboard. And Tyler Ripkema able to sneak on through and take over 4th. Impressive effort out of Ripkema in that 32, as that's a brand new race car that he and his dad put together specific for this race. And to run as well as it did in qualifying, to start second, to be 4th right now among some of the heavy hitters in the series for a relatively young team on the tour, says something about how talented they are as they try to continue to build on a strong run at New Smyrna in February that kicked off the season. Here's McLaughlin now, trying to find that inside lane underneath Ryan Newman. Works up off turn number 2, takes a look to the inside down the back straightaway, but falls back in line. This time, McLaughlin gets a wheel to the bottom. Turn 1, but just loses so much momentum there on the inside lane, and Ryan Newman able to hold that momentum to the top side. Newman's got a lot of experience here. The Rocket Man in the NASCAR Cup Series won an event here while driving for Roger Penske in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Always a racetrack that he has performed well at. And so far, this race has gone a lot more smooth than it did a year ago for Newman, who had to come from the back of the pack at least twice to be able to race his way up to the front. He was a factor throughout, but so far it's been pretty smooth, like it's been for Justin Bonsignore, the race leader. There's the gap from 1st to 2nd. The top 3 pretty close together, within 1 second on the racetrack. The importance for this race today for Justin Bonsignore cannot be understated. To win the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Championship, you've got to be so consistent all season long, and if you're not, it's hard to win them. Bonsignore has had an average finish of no worse than 5th all season long in his championship years, the 3 that he's won, and he's already starting off with a 31st place finish after New Smyrna, so it's critical for them to rebound a little bit deeper in the pack. The 82 of Craig Lutz and the 5 of Kyle Ebersol. This is a battle for 15th. Lutz was a driver who took over this car at the start of the season, ran a race here last year, but for that 82 team, but missed the Richmond race, so this is his first race here at this track. Go a little bit deeper in the pack, John McKennedy in the 79, and we've got trouble as Jeremy Gerstner goes off turn number 4. loops it in the 55. And that'll bring out the caution flag for the second time tonight in the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 150. So the caution is out on lap number 52 in Richmond. So Gerstner able to get that number 55 rolling once again. This will be an opportune moment for the teams that want to come in and get their first pit stop of the day. Happens right inside the fuel window. Let's take another look at what happened up off turn number 4. Keep an eye on the 55 machine. The black and neon numeraled 55. Gerstner got into the turn and came out from under him just right away, narrowly missing the end of pit wall. So fortunate for him not to hit anything, and no oncoming traffic as he was able to grab a gear and get that car spun back around. As pit road is still closed when they roll by this time by. You're watching the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150 from the Richmond Raceway. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Richmond Raceway. We're here tonight for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, the second stop of the 2022 season. Justin Bonsignore is the race leader. We're under caution for the second time today. It was Jeremy Gerstner who spun by himself off turn number 4. Pit road is open, and here come the race leaders. First pit stop of the day. Justin Bonsignore, Ryan Newman, Max McLaughlin should see just about the entire field come down. And what will likely be a fuel stop, but Ryan Newman and his team will elect to change tires on this pit stop in that number 39. So they'll go around and change the rear tires on these race cars. A little bit different from what you'll see in stock cars for the most part on these modified race cars. The rear tires, super valuable for them. Meanwhile, the race leader, Justin Bonsignore and Ryan Stone, the crew chief, will call for fuel only on their stop. So a bit of a mixed strategy here on this round of pit stops, as some take fuel on the first stop, some take tires. There's Eric Goodale as he takes off and heads back out onto the racetrack. Jimmy Blewett exits. Patrick Emmerling picks up some track position there in the 07. Early race leader Kyle Bonsignore on pit road. A 3-tire stop for the 22 car. Now we'll see what happens here as the cars roll down the back straightaway, because the rule of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is that you cannot take fuel and tires on the same pit stop. They may come back down pit road again, and that's exactly what we'll see here in a moment. The 51 of Bonsignore working his way back down pit road. He took fuel the first time through. He'll come back around and take tires. The opposite is true for Ryan Newman and his crew. He took tires the first time through. Rear tires only for Ryan Newman. And then they'll go ahead and pack it full of fuel. That'll be enough fuel to get them to the finish. But we'll make note of that. If you're scoring at home, keep an eye on that 2-tire strategy. Rear tires only for the 39 of Ryan Newman. He kept the 2 front tires on it. Here's the 51. Bonsignore. 3-tire stop for them. They've changed the left rear already, working on the right side tires. Patrick Emmerling gets his service complete. He's headed back out onto the racetrack. Crew finishing up work here for Bonsignore. They drop the jack and he will be on his way. So service complete here on pit road. 96 laps to go. And the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. There's a problem for John McKennedy. Takes a fuel can out of the pits with him. And he'll have to come back down to pit lane here as the field at the line gets the 1 to go signal. Gary McDonald, he'll get back on the lead lap. A couple of commitment cone violations. The 29 of Spencer Davis and the 20 of Eddie McCarthy had problems, and the problems for Davis get even worse as he loses the right front tire on the back straightaway, and that tire sits on the apron. So Davis had the penalty, came back out onto the racetrack, and there you see the entire wheel is missing. The studs are still there, and that car dragging now down to the right side. So it didn't appear to shear the studs off the right front of that number 29, but he barely made it off pit road before that right front Hoosier tire went bouncing, and there you see it again. There was 2 pieces that went rolling. As it broke when he exited pit road. So caution will remain out as our safety team goes out to retrieve that tire. And there is the 29 of Spencer Davis on pit road. Working the second caution here in Richmond. We'll be right back. We're back here at the Richmond Raceway. It's the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. A beautiful evening for short track racing at America's premier short track. The field given the 1 to go signal, and for the first time here this evening from Ransomville, New York, Chuck Hosfeld, hot shoe, and the number 2 leads the way. After this round of pit stops, Andrew Kraus will line up alongside on the front row. Ryan Newman with some pit strategy on pit lane. He took tires on his first time through, fuel on his second time through to maintain track position at the front. And Donnie Leah will start alongside of the outside lane. Things were not as smooth for the race leader, Justin Bonsignor. He had problems on pit road. He'll line up to the inside of row number 5 in the 9th position. And so for the first time today, he will have to work his way through traffic. We've seen 2 cautions so far, but we're ready to see the green flag one more time here in Richmond. The race leader, Chuck Hosfeld, on the bottom. Andrew Kraus up top. Ryan Newman, Donnie Leah make up row 2. Tommy Catalano and Patrick Emmerling, who started in the back, running 6th. Green flag is out, and Ryan Newman with an outstanding start already. Darts to the inside lane, making a bid for the race lead off turn 2. Newman to the point. Hosfeld the second. And here comes Catalano. Right back to the outside where he's been living all night long. Catalano through for second. Here's Kraus working the top lane as well as Chuck Hosfeld loses a handful of positions after that front row starting position on the restart. Ripkema now diving to the inside of turn 3 in the 32. Bonsignor already up to 6th as the bottom lane moved on the restart. Up front, Newman now fending off the challenge once again from Catalano. Nose to tail down into turn number 3. No holds bar action for the Whelen Modified Tour. Catalano to the bottom. Trouble deeper in the pack is Emmerling and Austin Beers. Get into it. They go backwards and up front. Tommy Catalano takes over the top spot, but Newman closes in on the backstretch. Catalano's car walks up the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, but he is able to hang on to the top spot. Approaching the halfway point in a banner day so far for Tommy Catalano. And he's a driver that tends to run well on big tracks like this. Let's take a look back at what happened. Keep an eye on the 07 to the 64, and there you see it. The 07 locked up the left front tire for Patrick Emmerling getting down into the turn, slid across the racetrack, and Austin Beers had nowhere to go. He slid up to the high side. Meanwhile, things go from bad to worse for Patrick Emmerling because he has brought out the third caution. You see the window net down, and Emmerling, for the second year in a row, does not have a good trip to the Richmond Raceway as his car sits down to the bottom of turns 1 and 2, and he is about ready to get out of that 07 machine. Get a look at it here down the front straightaway. Emmerling was already in trouble as he got onto the brakes. Look at that right rear tire is cut down. The car darts sideways and spins out of frame for Patrick Emmerling, and there is the driver, the number 07, Emmerling, out of the car. Now a NASCAR Xfinity Series team owner is Patrick Emmerling. Parker Kligerman drove their car to a top 5 run at COTA last week. But I tell you what, Patrick Emmerling and that team, it has been a rough couple of trips when they come to the Richmond Raceway. Wanted to have some momentum as the season rolls on, but tonight just simply wasn't in the cards for them. They fought it all day between qualifying and mechanical problems, and now a right rear tire will put them out of tonight's event. So third caution of the race so far. We've had 6 lead changes among 5 different leaders. Last year we saw a race record at this track with 12 lead changes, 14 lead changes to be correct. Looks like Jeremy Gershnu, who spun earlier on in the race to bring out the second caution, will get the free pass, be able to get that car back on the lead lap. Outside of Patrick Emmerling, only 2 cars have exited the race. Spencer Davis is off after the right front tire came off of his car leaving pit road, and Melissa Fifield out of the event. She completed 21 laps here tonight as the field circulates around the racetrack behind Tommy Catalano. Well, as we work onto the third caution to remove Patrick Emmerling's race car, we'll just step aside and come right back after this to Richmond. And we're back here at the Richmond Raceway. It's the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Joining the field again here this season is Ryan Newman as he returns to NASCAR competition in a brand new car and a brand new team. A team that's owned by Bill Stanley, Virginia State Senator, and Hermes Sadler, former NASCAR driver and personality, owns this race car. And Hermes told me the other day, he said, you know, if we have the opportunity, although our schedule is not set, we'll look to put more current NASCAR drivers and other personalities behind the wheel of this number 39 throughout the season. Future dates and times still to be determined, but Ryan Newman, no stranger to action when it comes to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. 4 times a winner, won a pair of races at the Magic Mile of the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire. Also won a pair of races at the Bristol Motor Speedway when the series visited that track on a regular basis. So Newman certainly no stranger to modified racing or the modified community, and he is trying to make the best of it. We talked earlier how Newman won a NASCAR Cup Series race here at this racetrack. Well, 2 other NASCAR Cup Series drivers with ties to modified racing also won here at Richmond. Tony Stewart earned his first career victory here at the Richmond Raceway of the NASCAR Cup Series back in 1999. Casey Kane did the same just a few years later in 2005. Both of those drivers, a couple of cars on pit road as the sun begins to set here in Richmond. J.B. Fortin in the number 34 getting service for his team. Second generation driver, his dad, an outstanding competitor, multi-time track champion at the Riverhead Raceway in Long Island. Gary McDonald and his team getting service and fuel on that number 26. The field has been given the 1 to go signal as they come back around this time back. Here you see the 64 car of Austin Beers working on the left front. It's been a day for that 64 after a practice crash and recent troubles is nearly getting into it with Patrick Emmerling. There's the 1 to go signal as the sun sets over the turn 4 grandstand here in Richmond. Penalty on pit road for the number 79 of John McKennedy. He was too fast on pit lane, and so it has been a rough couple of pit stops for McKennedy. First, the fuel can that he took out of his pit stall, and now too fast on pit road. So we're getting ready for the restart as the field rolls up off turn number 2. Tommy Catalano, the race leader, chooses the outside lane of the racetrack for the restart. Only the race leader in the front row can decide where they want to start. Everybody else starts according to their odd or even number positions from there on back. There's no choose rule in this series. But Catalano has made it quite clear that where he wants to run is the high groove. We'll see how it works here on this start. Pace car is in. Lap 70 about to go up on the scoreboard here tonight. Green flag is out. Catalano sails it deep down into turns 1 and 2. Can he make it stick? Newman drifts up the racetrack, has to feather out of the throttle, and Catalano away with the race lead. Ripkema now battling inside, wheel to wheel for Andrew Kraus. It's the battle for third. Two by two from third on back. Kraus gets a bit loose off the turn, and Ripkema stays right there to the bottom. A little bit further back, Justin Bonsignor, track position, very, very important. Lost 9 spots on pit road and hasn't been able to gather them all back up. He's rallied up to 5th and now starting to put the pressure on the 24 of Kraus for 4th. Behind them, the 7 New York, Jimmy Showtime Blewett. Tommy Baldwin owns the modified. And Blewett has been quick tonight. He's got Donnie Leah in tow with him, along with Max McLaughlin, the 2 blue modifieds directly behind. There's Bonsignor, Justin, down to the bottom of the 51. Still trying to find room to the inside of Andrew Kraus as they head off into turn 1. And Tyler Ripkema now battles up for the runner-up spot. That car very strong after the round of pit stops, as that 32 is rolling here tonight in Richmond. Come to the line this time by your halfway leader, and the bonus will go to Tommy Catalano. The halfway leader bonus for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Crossover move for Jimmy Blewett, white and red. Inside lane of Kraus in the 24. So Blewett now to 5th. It's the highest he has been all evening long. And the same could be said for the 16 car of Ronnie Silk. Silk started mid-pack, he's up to 8th. And he's looking to the inside now, the 77 of Max McLaughlin in turns 3 and 4. McLaughlin now to challenge Kraus. Pulls bottom midway down the back straightaway. And Silk waiting in the wings, trying to make a move as well. Nose to tail off turn number 4, back around this time by. We watch the battle for 6th on back. But inside the top 5, Jimmy Blewett. He's on the move. Looking to the outside lane. Blewett, a fan favorite out of New Jersey, trying to take his modified to the top lane of the racetrack. And sneak on by Justin Bonsignor, and Blewett secures the 4th position. There's Silk now, continuing to see if he can find room underneath Andrew Kraus in the battle for the 7th spot. And as the sun begins to set, sunlight in turn 2, shadow on the back straightaway, and most of the way around. Early race leader is the 22 of Kyle Bonsignor. He's been back in traffic. This is a battle, the bottom half of the top 10, but we've got caution out on the racetrack for the 4th time today. And the problem is Brian Doza. Catches the outside safer barrier over there in turns 1 and 2. And Doza, you can see where he's scrubbed the wall all the way through the turn. We'll bring out the 4th caution here on lap number 81. Doza unbuckling from his race car. Been a tough night for him as well. Was involved in an earlier caution when the right rear tire of his modified went flat and he spun off turn 2. Now problems once again for the driver from Alexandria, Louisiana. Here's a replay. Take a look at the top of the screen. The red number 97 got up to the high lane, had the brakes locked up, but there was nothing he can do to get that car to turn, and it came to a short stop about 100 feet after he hit the outside wall. So as work continues here with Brian Doza, we'll step aside and come back with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour right after this. We're back here at the Richmond Raceway as pit stops underway. A couple of cars electing to come down the pit lane, among them Gary McDonald in the 26, getting service on the right side of his car. Also on pit road, Craig Lutz, his crew chief Doug Ojako makes a chassis adjustment in the left rear of that number 82. Also in on pit road was the 44 for Bobby Santos. They went around to the left side of that car and made chassis adjustments underneath the left rear, probably in the suspension area, I would presume, as Santos now heads back out onto the racetrack. It's been a quiet day for Santos so far, but it hasn't been a quiet day for the 32 car of Tyler Ripkema. He's had a very strong start to the season. Came home on the first race of the season at New Smyrna Speedway in February with a top 5 run in that number 32 car. Has had a strong run. He and his family, his dad and he who work on these race cars, decided to bring out a brand new chassis, a brand new manufacturer to work with for the first time, a Fury chassis, and they are making this car work. They were second in qualifying. We're past the halfway point, and they've been up front all day, charging through the pack to race his way up into the top 5 and now get to where he is right now, second on the racetrack. He'll start on the inside lane when we get ready to go back under the green flag to the race leader, Tommy Catalano in the 54, who has been strong throughout the day today. 50 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The field will get the green flag with 66 laps to go. The race leader, Tommy Catalano, on the outside lane gets the green flag from Sean Houlihan, and we're back underway in Richmond. Newman thought about going 3 wide to the inside, but the battle is for the race lead. Catalano up top, Ripkema down at the bottom, and here comes Jimmy Blewett to the outside. Red and white, 7 New York for Jimmy Blewett, running the high lane of the racetrack. Hungry for victory tonight. Scoots up high, loses the nose a little bit, and Ripkema is able to drive away. So it's Catalano, Ripkema, Blewett back to 4th. It's Justin Bonsignor still battling away with Max McLaughlin in the high lane, and a nice recovery by the 5 of Kyle Ebersol, the red number 5. He's navigated inside the top 10, currently running 7th. Bonsignor still working the bottom lane. Newman's car starting to go away, but remember, Ryan Newman, he still has 4 tires left on pit road. Most of the other teams took 3 tires, but Newman has saved his tires. If there's another opportunity, he can put 4 brand new Hoosier tires on that race car. So right now he's hanging on to it. To the outside lane, you can see Newman sawing on that steering wheel, doing everything he can to keep the car underneath him, nearly coming together with Max McLaughlin on the straightaway. There's so little room for error when it comes to modified racing and open wheel cars. With the Nerf bars, 15 inches of rubber on the corners, they create a lot of grip, but boy, it can become disastrous if they made contact with each other. McLaughlin, the son of Mike McLaughlin, who was very instrumental in this sport, not only as a driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in his day, but also as a mentor for drivers like Joey Logano and others, as they made their name in the ranks of NASCAR competition. We'll see 59 laps to go tonight in Richmond as Justin Bonsignor tries to find 3rd underneath Jimmy Blewett. Bonsignor tried to drag race Blewett into turn number 3. He'll stay dead even across. A push from McLaughlin to the back bumper of Blewett in turn 1. But Bonsignor too strong on the bottom. Edges ahead in turn 3. So Justin Bonsignor has the inside lane. Max McLaughlin now switches strategies. Blewett tried to cross him up, but McLaughlin was there. He'll fill the gap to the inside lane and sneak on through to pick up the spot. So Blewett now back to 5th. Bonsignor, McLaughlin 3rd and 4th. And everybody trying to track down Tommy Catalano at the front of the field. But it's Bonsignor, McLaughlin, and Blewett. That's the back half of your top 5. And how about Kyle Ebersol? He spun in qualifying because he got in his own fluid. The team repaired that race car, had to start at the back, and he picked up a spot right there to put him 5th. An outstanding recovery for the driver who used to work in the engineering department at NASCAR, lives in Mooresville, North Carolina, now works in the automotive industry outside of the sport, but he has been strong here tonight to rally back to 5th. Here's a battle for 3rd. Outside lane, McLaughlin, as if Justin Bonsignor was standing still. Bonsignor did not come off turn number 4. He's going to give up at least 1 spot. And now here comes Ebersol to take 4th. And so Justin Bonsignor giving up a couple of spots there in 1 turn as he slowed coming off turn 4. Battle for the race lead. 53 to go, and Tyler Ripkema charges down to the inside lane of Tommy Catalano. Getting to the late stages of this one, and both of these drivers looking for their first Whelen Modified Tour victory, but the caution is out. The caution is for debris with 53 laps to go. There's a look at the debris, an air cleaner off one of the cars. Up at the top lane of the racetrack. So now the strategy comes in play. These teams still have a set of tires. You're right at the optimal time to come in and get them. We'll see what they decide to do. Tommy Catalano and this team could be one of the most important pit stops this crew has ever executed on. And there you see the 7 New York of Jimmy Blewett with the air cleaner missing off that race car. So Blewett stays out on the racetrack. Pit road is open. And the race leader of Tommy Catalano in this family team, seeing if they can get a good, clean pit stop and win on one of the biggest stages on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season, and that's right here at Richmond tonight. Ronnie Silk is in with the 16, one of the first cars to hit his pit stall. Newman is in. Adjustments on the 39 of Newman. And here's Tyler Ripkema, came in second as they look to change 3 tires. Left rear off and on. These modified cars, they're not like the street cars where you've got 5 lugs right in the center. These are at the outside of the wheel. It makes it a slower pit stop than what you would normally see because of the distance from the hub. Chassis adjustments being made to the 58 of Eric Goodale. 3 tires going on his car. Chuck Hosfeld is in, looking for tires. And there is the air cleaner missing on the top of that carburetor for Jimmy Blewett in the 7 New York. The reason for the caution, here's everybody else making their way off of pit lane. They head back out onto the racetrack under this caution. Blewett will come down pit lane now, and we'll get a look of exactly what happened. Keep an eye on the white and red at the top of your frame. There you see it going into turn number 1. Jimmy Blewett losing the air cleaner on that race car. So a very strong run for Blewett. He waited, and looks like they're gonna put the same one back on by as beat up as it is. They've got it gathered back up again. He'll put that air cleaner on and change tires, but he will certainly lose a lot of track position after a really good time run for them today. We'll have to see if Jimmy Blewett can earn that nickname tonight, Showtime, and make a show as he runs up through the field. So Jimmy Blewett will lose a lot of track position here coming down. There's the car owner and former Daytona 500 champion, crew chief with Ward Burton back in 2002, Tommy Baldwin, putting that air cleaner back on that 7 New York. They've got a busy race weekend for this 7 New York team. Tomorrow night, they will be running with Caleb Heddy behind the wheel, and they'll be running over at South Boston. Sunday, Mike Christopher Jr. will be racing the 7 New York car up at the Thompson Speedway in Connecticut. And last week, Tommy Baldwin was the crew chief for Loris Hesman at COTA when he had the chance to run in the NASCAR Cup Series. The sun is setting tonight in Richmond, and we have already known that the stars have been out since the green flag flew for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The Whelen Engineering safety lights have gone out around the speedway, and that means it's time to get back under the green flag. The field will see 49 laps to go when the green comes out. And the front row looks a little bit different. Max McLaughlin is the race leader. He takes the outside lane. J.B. Fortin on the bottom. Newcomer to the series, James Pritchard Jr. on the inside of row number 2 in the 71. And Andrew Kraus to the outside is how they'll stack up. Some of the cars that came down pit road, Tommy Catalano will restart in 6th. He was your race leader. Pace car is in. Down to a regular Friday night short track shootout for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Green flag is out, and Pritchard gets spun through the restart zone down to the inside lane. Pritchard trying to get that modified, spun back around. Green is still out as the rest of the field continues on into turn 3 and 4. Pritchard is able to drive away. Max McLaughlin has a sizable lead as they roll back on through. The rest of the field stacked up. That's the battle for second at the left side of your frame. Tommy Catalano and J.B. Fortin. Look at the nest behind him, though. We haven't heard a lot from him tonight. And that 58 down to the bottom. Here comes Justin Bonsignor looking inside of the 51. That puts Bonsignor to 4th. Goodale back to 5th. And here comes Austin Beers. He's running 6th. Deeper in the pack. How about Tyler Ripkema? He was 2nd when they came down pit road. lost some spots there. He's trying to make up for lost ground in the number 32 as he sneaks down to the inside of Kyle Bonsignore for 7th. And here comes Justin Bonsignore in the 51. This is for 2nd. Make it 3rd for Bonsignore. He'll take that away. Eric Goodale trying to follow on through and back up his runner-up finish in the season opener in New Smyrna. Goodale up to 4th. And up front, Tommy Catalano is starting to reel in the race leader. We'll keep an eye on that. But there's great racing throughout. Eric Goodale, his car starting to come to life as he now works the inside lane. Here is Catalano up front, bid for the lead. Carves it down to the inside lane as they come across 43 laps to go. And Tommy Catalano looking for the race lead in turn 1. You can see the rubber marks as it worked his way up off turn number 2 from Catalano. Gets underneath and takes over the top spot. McLaughlin back to 2nd. And Tommy Catalano now 42 laps away from earning his first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour victory, but it's a long way to go and anything can happen in modified racing. Let's go back and take a look at exactly what happened. Watch the car on the inside of row 2, the black and white 71 for James Pritchard. The car darted to the right, made contact with Andrew Krause on the Nerf bar, and then the car just spun back around. No other car involved. We stayed under the green flag. It allowed Max McLaughlin to get away, but Tommy Catalano tracked him down and took over the top spot. Catalano has led for 41 laps today, second only to Justin Bonsignore, who dominated in the opening stage of the race. But the other car that's been quick is Tyler Ripkema, and look at that aggressive move underneath Austin Beers. That'll put Ripkema back inside the top 5, but he's over 3 seconds behind the race leader, Catalano. But you can see how quick Tyler Ripkema is. Had a strong run here last year. This racetrack suits him well. He was on the front row in a late race restart before a restart violation sent him to the back. There's the gap. Lap car in between. Tommy Catalano, the race leader, in red. The blue 77 for Max McLaughlin in 2nd place. Pritchard, the lap machine between the two in his modified debut. Where these race cars will go from one of the biggest tracks on the circuit to one of the smallest tracks. On May 14th, the Riverhead Raceway, the Bull Ring on the east end of Long Island, where a lot of these race drivers have come from. Good position when they had to replace the air cleaner under that last caution in the 7 New York. Had one of the quickest cars on the track. He's able to get into the 8th position when he goes by John McKennedy there. Chuck Hosfeld right there as well in the 2 car. Pick up the battle for 2nd. Justin Bonsignore finding some late race speed. And he is on the attack, trying to find a way around Max McLaughlin. Bonsignore sails it deep down into turn 1 and 2, and he'll take over the 2nd spot. So Bonsignore to 2nd, and he's about a second behind the race leader, Tommy Catalano. But closing in quickly is a 32 of Tyler Ripkema. Ripkema duplicates the move he saw Justin Bonsignore do a lap ago. He goes underneath. Can't quite complete the pass this time off turn number 2 as McLaughlin hangs in there on the outside. Ripkema sideways that time off turn 4. That has been the tricky spot for these modifieds all race long. So Bonsignor and Tyler Ripkema able to get away. Max McLaughlin now slid back to the 4th spot. And Eric Goodale in the 58 is trying to change that. Goodale said before the race, my goal is to run a smart race. If I can do that, Jason Shepard has put a great setup under this number 58. I know I can be good. He's in the top 5, but they come together on the backstretch. Veteran driver is able to hang on to it. McLaughlin still with his hands full off turn 4. Goodale takes a peek to the inside. The driver from Riverhead, Long Island. In New York. But get a look at it again. Look at the fight in McLaughlin. Sparks flying under the lights here tonight in Richmond as the wheel of Goodale gets into the Nerf bar, the 77 of Max McLaughlin. Short track racing at its finest, and Eric Goodale will finally win the battle and takes over 4th as McLaughlin slides back to 5th. Up front though, Tommy Catalano. And looming in the mirror, Justin Bonsignor and Tyler Ripkema. And the gap about 9/10 of a second has not changed since Bonsignor moved into 2nd and Ripkema in hot pursuit. This the battle for 4th, Goodale and Max McLaughlin, as Goodale tries to gap the 77. What a day it could be for Tommy Catalano. The entire family involved in their racing operation. Many of them have raced themselves in upstate New York or in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And they have been working at this for many seasons. Tonight just happens to be his 50th career start for Tommy Catalano. Could 50 be the magic number for this team? 24 to go this time by. The team out of Ontario, New York leads the way, top 10 at New Smyrna. Came home 8th in the season opener. Knows that they can do better here tonight as they have the car to beat. And have been all day. There's the gap to Justin Bonsignor, still remains at 9/10 of a second. Back to the runner-up spot. And as mentioned in the open, Justin Bonsignor and this team just wants to be able to get through with a clean finish. You don't get many mulligans in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season because the competition is so tight. Bonsignor in 2020 won the championship with an average finish of just over, I think it was 2.7 positions. His worst finish all year was 12th. That's how hard it is to win one of these championships. And so starting behind the 8 ball, Ebersol tonight, along with Patrick Emmerling, started dead last and have been crafty in their approach to be able to work up through, trying to get a top 5 finish before the checkered flag flies tonight in Richmond. Oh, contact! McLaughlin has had his hands full this time at the hands of Jimmy Blewett in the 7 New York. You saw it on the speed shot a moment as to sneak underneath. Especially off turn number 2, as McLaughlin now back to 8th. And he is fighting that race car after a strong run inside the top 5 all day long. You can see how much he's working that wheel off turn number 4. So McLaughlin back to 8th. McKennedy right there in 9th. And McKennedy just trying to make the best of a rough day today. Salvage what he can out of the evening and move on to the next one at the Riverhead Raceway. He'll try to pick up another spot, try to take that 8th spot away from Max McLaughlin here in the closing laps. Meanwhile, up front, Tommy Catalano working through some lap traffic, just hammered on the back bumper of Kyle Bonsignore to move him out of the way as your race leader in heavy lap traffic on the back straightaway. Look at the front bumper of the 54 of Catalano. It's pointed skyward. That's how hard he hit the 22 of Kyle Bonsignore. Was right in the way of the race leader, and Tommy Catalano wanted none of it, because as he looks in the rearview mirror, looming large is a 51 of Justin Bonsignore. The lap traffic has cost Catalano a 9/10 of a second advantage, and Bonsignore is there. We'll get a look at what happened a moment ago. Watch the 22 and the 54. Catalano gets into the back of Kyle Bonsignore once. Then he comes charging back and gets him again. You see how hard he hit him. It bends the front bumper skyward. Catalano able to gap as a race leader, one of the few times in his career at the Modifieds working lap traffic. And that allows Justin Bonsignore to close in and look to the bottom. 11 to go this time by. Bonsignore drives to the bottom. Catalano tries to protect the lane. Off turn number 2. By a bumper. Catalano out in front, but he leaves the door open to the bottom. Catalano sideways off turn number 4. Here comes Bonsignore to the inside at 10 to go. Catalano giving it everything he's got to win his first career race. But Justin Bonsignore on the back straightaway sneaks underneath to take the race lead in the late going. Catalano, does he have anything left to go after Justin Bonsignore? Charges off turn number 2. Look how wide he came, nearly catching that safer barrier. Catalano is like the top lane through turns 3 and 4 all day long. Is that lane still there for the 54? Bonsignore protects the bottom. Opens it up now, 5 car lengths between first and second. Ryan Newman, who ran inside the top 5 early in this race. The next car to go a lap down in the yellow number 39. Bonsignore goes to the bottom. James Pritchard up ahead. Bonsignore gets boxed in. Goes to the inside of Newman, to the outside of Pritchard. And still opens up some more room over Catalano, who's 3 wide, threading the needle, trying to get through the lap traffic. Catalano has gotten everything out of those Hoosier tires he can get here tonight, as he tries to gather up any last ounce of speed he has to track down the race leader, Justin Bonsignore. Half a second, now the advantage between first and second. The eyes of Justin Bonsignore as he charges into turn number 3. 3-time Whelen Modified Tour champion. Looking to win on the biggest stage here tonight at the Richmond Raceway in Virginia. The driver from Holtsville, New York, down on Long Island. Knew he had a rebound after a terrible day at New Smyrna. Finished in 31st, dead last that day. Trying to rebound nicely as he heads down the back straightaway. Catalano still charging. He's keeping the gap about the same, but it'll be 2 to go this time by, a little bit deeper in the pack. Battle for third. Ripkema in the 32 has had a great day for Tyler Ripkema, and Chuck Hosfeld quietly, the hot shoe, working his way inside the top 5 and now going for third. Here's Kyle Ebersol in the 5 as he rides there trying to make it a top 4 run. Off turn number 4, this time by Justin Bonsignore. We'll see the 1 to go. White flag is out. Tommy Catalano is there, but not within striking distance. Final time around for Justin Bonsignore. Into turn number 3. Off the turn, checkered flag is out, and Justin Bonsignore wins in Richmond. Justin Bonsignore had one mission in mind when they came to the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. And that was to rebound from a tough start of the season at New Smyrna, and they did just that. Showing his championship poise tonight. Bonsignore able to capture another NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour victory and will launch another championship campaign here tonight as he'll head into his home track of the Richmond at the Riverhead Raceway on Long Island after his win here in Richmond. So the celebration for now his 32nd career Whelen Modified Tour win as Justin Bonsignore gets set to climb out here along the front straightaway in Richmond. Bonsignore led 57 laps tonight. He led early on in the event. And then Tommy Catalano, you can't say enough about the run that entire team had. Led 70 laps tonight, but came up just a bit short in the final stages as Justin Bonsignore on that last green flag run to the finish was able to hold on and get the win. He'll grab the Sunoco checkers. This is one that they always want, especially on a companion NASCAR Cup Series weekend. We got the NASCAR Cup Series, NASCAR Xfinity Series racing here this weekend in Richmond. And these modified drivers had the opportunity to put on a show for them tonight and to win on the big stage. There's only a couple of times that happens throughout the season. And Justin Bonsignore knows that you've got to make those opportunities count. And he did so here tonight. He'll take a victory lap with the checkered flag out the window. That's the story for the race winner. But for Tommy Catalano, it looks like this. You can see the agony so close for this team. A banner day. Tony Glover from NASCAR comes over to offer his congratulations on a strong run. You see that smile on Tommy's face, but he knows that could have been him tonight, holding that checkered flag, and he'll think of one that got away here tonight in Richmond. But nothing for that team to hang their head about as they had a banner day tonight in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, second race of the season. We're going to look back at how it happened on the back straightaway. Bonsignore, after hunting Tommy Catalano, worked him over, and Catalano just got loose up off turn number 4 as the tires began to fade. And Bonsignore and this team who said that I've got to be good getting into turn number 1 because that's where it's going to matter. And that strategy worked because that setup in that race car glided down through turns 1 and 2 and season. Let's head down to victory lane and our race winner, Justin Bonsignore.
All around the horn down here as they do celebrate. A couple of crew members climbing in the race car with him. As a matter of fact, he is getting ready to climb out and celebrate with this team. They've been waiting to do this as he had that brutal finish down at New Smyrna, finishing last with an overheating problem. And Justin Bonsignore is back, and he is here in victory lane. And as a matter of fact, still making sure that he gets all of the thing, gets a big gulp of water down here now, and getting ready to climb out. The crew is ready to celebrate, and here he comes out of the race car, Justin Bonsignore. Checkered flag in hand, water flying over here as he douses down his crew. He is back in victory lane. Justin, congratulations on this win here tonight. I know it means so much to you to get back on track.
I've been wondering for seven long weeks what was going to happen when we got here, and you know we were really good here last fall, and then just had that mechanical failure knocked us out. But Ryan Stone prepared a great car again. Ken Massa, the whole team, great pit stops. Coastal Fiber, Phoenix Communications, everybody that just sticks with us on this deal, man. It wasn't easy by any means. Tommy made me earn it. He's really coming into his own, and it's awesome to see. But our car was just really good on that long run.
Describe trying to run a competitor down like that.
Yeah, I could see I was starting to drive away from the guys behind me and just not worrying about the mirror. And then all of a sudden the 32 started filling the mirror up, and I was like, man, is he going to get by both of us? And lap traffic was definitely not too favorable to Tommy. And once I was able to get to him, and I just made quick work of any of the lap traffic I got with, and his car was just fading a little quicker than ours was. It's so hard here on tires to go 50, 60 laps, and we just had that long run balance. Just can't thank everybody enough. Like I said, Coastal Fiber is a subsidiary of Phoenix Communications. Appreciate them coming on board. They had 30-something people here today. Phoenix Communications, obviously our sponsor. M3 Technologies, Clearcom IT Solutions, Fury Race Cars, Robert Yates Engines, just all our product sponsors. It's a small step, I guess, in digging out of the hole we got, but it's a good way to put everybody on notice that they're going to have to keep us down if they don't want us to win.
And how important is it to draw that line after ripping up in New Smyrna, draw that line and kind of restart fresh here?
Yeah, I mean, it's good on both fronts. Obviously, as a team, we've been, looking at the points and seeing ourselves dead last for 7 long weeks. So I'm glad we, confidence-wise for us as a group, it's good. We know what we can do each and every week, but, that's just part of racing. You're going to have bad luck, and we gave everybody the mulligan. We'll just have to be perfect the rest of the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate everybody coming out. Richmond Raceway for having us back again, all the sponsors, everybody that makes this deal possible for us. It's an amazing stage for our series to be on, and I'm really proud that we were able to do it.
Justin Bonsignor, proud he's able to do it. He's in victory lane, Ruoff Mortgage victory lane, if you will, down here celebrating with his crew here tonight. The Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150.
Live on the
Race win number 32 for Justin Bonsignor as he celebrates with his crew. Gets a big hug from his car owner, Ken Massa, crew chief there. Ryan Stone, who tuned that race car to a victory here tonight, as he will celebrate, had to hunt down Tommy Catalano to get the job done. Catalano, who came home in second. Chuck Hosfeld had a good run. He was able to finish in the top 3. Kyle Ebersol and Tyler Ripkema rounding out the top 5 in tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150. Well, that'll do it for our coverage here tonight for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150 at the Richmond Raceway. Justin Bonsignor, the winner. For more, certainly check out NASCAR.com/roots for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, along with FlowRacing.com. Tune in on USA when this race airs later in the month of April. On behalf of the entire staff, NASCAR Productions, Flow Racing, and USA, I'm Joe Koss. Thanks for tuning in to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Virginia is for Racing Lovers 150.